Hai i microfoni, serve.
Sedetevi tutti invece voi. Tutti voi.
Ne avete due da dividere lì sul palco.
Yes.
Prova. Check. Ok.
Veloce.
Prova.
Siamo.
Welcome everyone to our third panel of the day. Sorry if we ran a little late. We are honored to host Mirja Cartia, CEO of 24 Ore Group, and Corrado Passera, CEO of Illimity Bank, to discuss today's panel, which has an interesting topic: redefining Italian businesses, strategies for sustainable growth in the European markets. Thank you. I'll begin introducing our guests. Mirja Cartia has over 25 years of experience in the finance sector, with a particular focus in real estate, first as a lawyer, then as an investment banker, and finally as an entrepreneur. She has held various roles as an independent director in listed companies and as chief executive officer of Il Sole 24 Ore since April 2022.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. It's an honor to introduce our second speaker, Corrado Passera, who has a distinguished career both in the public and private sectors. He served as CEO of Gruppo Editoriale L'Espresso Repubblica, Olivetti, Intesa San Paolo, and Poste Italiane, and served as Italy's Minister of Economic Development, Infrastructure and Transport under the Monti government. He's now the CEO and founder of Illimity Bank, a new paradigm bank that provides innovative financial services, including financing to high-potential SMEs and digital direct banking. The focus of our panel today is on sustainable growth. We know Europe is facing many significant challenges and opportunities in today's geopolitical context. So this panel's focus is on two major goals that we're all trying to achieve. On the one hand, we want to boost our economy and sustainably for next generations. But on the other, we want to protect our environment against all these climate threats that we're seeing. These goals bring us to a complex idea of sustainability, which now has this double meaning. And in the current global situation that we've discussed in our first panel of the day, with its political tensions, rising interest rates, persistent inflation, and increasing national debts, makes this balancing act even more difficult. So given this complexity, my first question is for Dottoressa D'Asero. We need to think strategically, right, about how to merge these two sides of sustainability. How can Italy and Europe more broadly find the middle ground between the need for long-term economic stability and the urgency of environmental protection in this current global and economic context?
Thank you, Sarah. I think, is it fine if I use this mic?
Yes.
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you for the invitation. And United Italian Society is doing a great job. So thank you to the institutions and the academy that are managing to have this beautiful event. So how important is for us to a tree?
Secondo me se ti dai il gelato lo sentirà sentire meglio.
So how important is for us a tree? I mean, everyone knows how important a tree is because of the chlorophyll and photosynthesis. We know that thanks to a tree we can breathe. So it's essential for the life of everyone to recognize the importance of a tree. However, how are you willing to pay to save a tree? Are you £50, probably, yes, all of you would pay for it. But 100, some of you will pay, some others will not. But definitely, I'm sure that nobody is ready to pay €1 million to save a tree. So what I'm saying is that the environmental protection has a price. Sometimes this price can be very high. We can like it or not, but this is the truth. So the first sustainability is financial sustainability. Without finance, we don't go anywhere. And therefore, to answer your question, the balance must be reached. I mean, the balance between long-term economic strategy and the protection of the environment and the sustainability more in general must be found. So this is, the main point, to find a compromise. I don't have solutions. I can give some suggestions how I think this can be looked at. The first one is, you mentioned, Sarah, we are living in very complex times. We have what has been called a multi-crisis context. We had the pandemic and the inflation strikes, and of course, the interest rate hikes, another conflict between Israel and Palestine, and then the trade blockade in Suez Canal. And unfortunately, the list is not exhaustive. So what I think is that the old paradigm of the economy as we know it just doesn't work anymore. So if we consider the short-term strategy, the profit-only dynamic, this does not work anymore. So I really believe that applying ESG principles to the company management is part of the answer. Applying truly ESG principles is part of the answer. What has been defined inclusive capitalism already a couple of years ago by Pope Francis and also by the president of Confindustria in Italy. So, and applying ESG principles in a thorough way with all the declination of environment, social, and governance can make the difference, can grow the awareness, also at company, but also at social level. So not only for the business, but also for everyone. Look at what has been mentioned before, just the Chiara Ferragni case, where the damage at the reputation provoked also a damage at the economic soundness of the business. So I think a reputation of the company increased not only as an ancillary team, but as a priority. To really believe in what we're doing is a priority. And this is the first suggestion I want to give. The second one that's very strictly connected is the method. Because if we are just talking about it, we are doing only communication efforts, what has been called the greenwashing or pinkwashing, this does not have and will be found out. So what I think is that a precise and rigorous measurement, objective measurement of the advance and what we're doing in the applying of the ESG principles in the companies is part of the answer. Of course, this is not easy, it's a process, it's a trend, but can be done. And I think it must be done. And finally, the third point, the third suggestion that I have, and we have a great testimonial here today, is the collaboration between the public and the private sector. Not all the efforts can be done at public level. Public can set out the target, the goals that we have to achieve, but the collaboration between the two parts of our reality can make the magic. I think that if we pay part of the price for the tree, but somebody else is paying the other part, we will have more trees, and it's good for everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Talking about sustainability, the von der Leyen Commission has stressed the importance of the twin transitions towards environmental sustainability and digitalization. Now, my first question is to Corrado Passera. What initiatives would unlock capital investment in SMEs in Italy and in Europe and could be taken in order to stimulate sustainable growth and innovation within the business itself?
First of all, congratulations, because resisting until 4 o'clock on Friday afternoon is heroic. So that's the beginning. We need, and I seriously stating it, we need sustained and sustainable growth. We have neither of them. And even if most of you study economics, we always have to keep together the economic side of growth and the social side of growth. Without sustained and sustainable growth, the social malaise that is growing throughout the Western world will increase. And not only for electoral reasons, but just for keeping communities, societies together, we have the duty to find any possible way to give our countries and Europe as a whole the level of growth that we do not have today. 0 point something will not enable us to fix the problems we have. Innovation is the main engine of growth, of sustained and sustainable growth. And for sure, we can do a number of things to foster innovation and through innovation, productivity, et cetera, et cetera. Obviously, the prerequisite is strong companies. It's an obvious observation. Strong research universities, but we have to ask ourselves, what can we do more to make our economic and social systems more capable to innovate and to grow? We will need very deep innovation because most of the problems we have in front of us are totally new. Demographics has never been a problem in our societies. Today is the trigger of a complete change in the way we will manage our societies. Everything will have to be changed because of that. Education, welfare, the way our democracies are organized. So since we need a lot of innovation, we will need a lot of capabilities to manage change. And you will be those who will manage these changes, both in the companies and in the societies as whole. So getting back to what we can do in terms of policies to foster innovation, I strongly believe that not regulation, but incentives can do a lot. And we had the evidence of it in a number of cases at the European level, but I can tell you at the Italian level, you might remember the piece of law that was called Industry 4.0. I mean, if you reward in a structural way, from a tax point of view, companies who invest in innovation, who accelerate digital and environmental transition and energy transition, you can really get in a short period of time very significant results. So this is only an example, but we as a group, I mean, you are in the process of becoming part of the ruling classes in our countries. We have to have in mind that the right political decisions can really make a strong difference in the performance of our countries. Second, and it's also a very important point because some of the things we have to achieve will be achieved only at the European level. We are not yet using something that our competitors are using. When I mention competitors, I mean the United States, China, the other global powers. All of them, both of them, we will have others in the future, but both of the present ones have a layer of action, a level of investments, a federal level of interventions that in Europe we are not yet using enough. We use the Eurobonds and European investments only during the COVID crisis, and it was clearly proven that we have a further layer of action that today is not used. Today, Europe simply redistribute resources amongst countries. Europe can be also something that adds to the capabilities of the single countries. And Eurobonds, the next generation Europe, was the evidence of something we have to use not only for emergency cases like was the COVID, but for fostering growth. We have to finance, and this country money will not be enough. We have to finance common infrastructures. We have to finance long-term research and development process and projects. We have to build global players, because Europe is out from the rankings in most crucial industries, technology, defense, banking. And that is a weakness we have to fix. So both at our country level, because most of you, as far as I understand, are Italians, but nothing will be done without a European framework, have to have in mind that the behavior of our countries can be shaped through the right kind of regulation, the right incentives, and Europe, which is probably the only place in the world that invented for the time being a real sustainable social and economic system, because let's not forget this. I mean, so far, the best model in the world that puts together values, rights, duties, etc., is Europe. And we have to defend and foster the growth of Europe also through these kind of interventions.
Thank you. And talking about, I guess, driving the engine of innovation and the sustainable growth, my question is to Mirja Cartia d'Azero. What regulatory frameworks and incentives should be put forward to facilitate access to capital investment in these new technologies and in green projects?
Thank you. 70% of our regulation comes from Europe, so I share the same view that we must be very focused at the production of legislation at European level. We need both the regulation framework and the incentives. We cannot live with one of the two only. So in terms of the regulation framework, very important to understand what can be done, what is the legal perimeter. And just last week, Confindustria promoted a research, Fabbrica Europa, that I think is very important because raised the need for a comprehensive and clear regulatory framework. Still, a lot needs to be done. There is a lack of synergy between the European programs and then the country's implementation of the politics. And this is something that must be improved. In terms of incentive, we need to be creative because nobody does anything for nothing. And therefore, I think incentive is important. I will go in the same direction as Corrado expressed. I believe we need a kind of another next generation EU, a financial instrument at the European level, which will cover the green transition and the digital transition, not only at extraordinary time, such as the pandemic as it was last time, but really in the ordinary course of business. This will make us the states of Europe, not only a European Union, which is somewhere else, which is not felt as part of our common lives. So I think it is important because this legal framework will give us also a sense of belonging to the same area, not only from economical viewpoint, but also in terms of setting the priorities, setting the targets, measuring the advancements. So this is what I think it will be important in terms of incentive. Another element we already mentioned is an improved synergy between European Union and the single states, and again, the participation of public and private sectors. Just a week ago, we read Mario Draghi's report appointed by the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, in relation to the competitiveness of the business in Europe, just to support, he mentioned that just to support the green and the digital transition, the need is of 500 billion euros per year.
And it will not be enough.
It will not, at least, he said at least
5 years ago, I said 5 trillion, but
okay.
now they are coming close. So
Coming close.
step by step, they will get to it.
Corrado already do it. Anyway, he said at least, probably he didn't want to scare us, at least 500 billion euros per year, and the nation supports will never be enough. So of course, we need to find ways to collaborate between the public and the private sector.
Thank you. So we've talked, I've heard a lot about innovation, potential policies. I want to delve deeper into Mr. Pastera's experience with SMEs and ask whether what policies at the Italian and European level can foster innovation specifically for SMEs.
The same question as before. Should I repeat what I said before?
No.
Let's take one specific instrument that foster innovation in any country. And this is something that probably will be important for some of you. I'm talking about startups, because many of you probably during your life will create a new company. And new companies are easier to create if the regulations is fit, is designed around the need of innovative startups. That was one of the first problems I got when I became minister 10 years ago. I will tell you, I mean, it was clear that Italy was not a friendly country to startups. Why? Because the same rule applied both to large established companies and to new ones. And that's the best way not to create new companies. So I decided to send 12 people like you around the world and find the best practice to create startups. Then we said, okay, these are the best examples. Let's see how we can change labor laws, tax laws, corporate laws, bankruptcy laws, incentive laws. And our government was open enough, and the parliament was available enough to introduce all these changes throughout legislation. And thanks to that, today, in the last 10 years, today we have 15, 16,000 new companies that are developing themselves. Illimity, that is the bank I created 5 years ago, is a startup, is still a startup, because after 5 years, we want to remain a startup, because startup means...
How many employees?
We are 900. We reached 9 billion worth of assets. In 2023, we made 104 million euros worth of profit. And I'm saying that not only because I'm proud of it, because I'm proud of it, but because it can be a good example and a good incentive, a good reason for some of you to start your own company. And be sure that in terms of regulation, at least, Italy is second to no one at this point. Can we do more? Yes, we can do more in a number of areas. First of all, we must channel more fund to startups. It's a matter of developing specialized finance. It's a matter of creating players that are good at financing the first steps in the life of startups. And actually, Italy has created a number of them. So we cannot say we're second to no one, but for sure the situation is much stronger than it used to be. Then we can do even more, and we will do more. For example, we must make life easier for startups in terms of bureaucracy, in terms of cost of living, in terms of cost of making business, and a number of cities and towns, Milan is certainly amongst them, but is certainly not the only one, are creating these environment that make life easier to start up. There is no rule in terms of age. We have startups that are very young. There are startups that are mid-age, some startups that became a startupper almost at the end, like myself. I mean, after managing a number of countries, after living a number of different lives, I decided that there was the possibility to create a bank from scratch. And probably one thing that Mirja said before is very important. We need more and more people capable to collaborate between private sector and public sector. Most of the important things our countries have to do have to be done through the collaboration of the public world and the private world. So we need people like you that during their career understand both sides of the moon, as we say in Italian, both the public world and the private world, the profit one and the non-profit one. Because in most cases, not in most cases, because none of these worlds has the monopoly of virtue. And many problems need the collaboration of both private and not private. So, Mirja, you said a very, very important thing. I changed a little bit your question, but I wanted to talk about startups, so I did it.
And thanks to a very successful startupper. Now, talking about startups, actually, that's my question to Mirja Cartia. How do you assess the impact of Italy's regulatory environment in terms of creating a favorable ecosystem for startups and encouraging entrepreneurship in Italy?
Thank you. In the board of directors of Sole 24 Ore, there's an American professor, probably some of you will know, is a distinguished professor, Alec Ross, who I call an American cowboy, because he's always against the Italian environment, saying that in Italy it's impossible to access business because of what has been said, because of the bureaucracy, because of the difficult access to credit. Of course, this does not relate to illimity, that is making a strong efforts in this context, but we have to admit that it's not a favorable environment for startups and innovators who wants to create a new business in our country. Nevertheless, I think that there are certain strategies that can be considered. We don't repeat the fact that the public and private sector must collaborate. We already said many times. I think another point that Corrado mentioned is the financing at any level. For example, at the academic level, in US is very common that part of the universities make research, and then that research will become a spin-off and then will become a new company with an innovation strategy. This is a little bit more difficult in Italy, but there are examples. Then the seed capital to foster the startup directions. And again, we need financing.
at any level, institutional financing, even from the public. Only recently, the venture capital has become a part of the way like financing can be put in place, and also private, in different ways, like private debt or crowdfunding. There are different ways, and I think we have to improve and to continue to explore any kind of possibility to finance and to protect the startup environment, because it's very important for all the country, not only for a single business. Another suggestion comes from the G7. You know that half of the world this year will go to elections, and you know also that Italy has the leadership of the G7 that is almost starting in these days. It is important that considering the role that Italy has in this important event, the effort will be done to find common item of the agenda of the big 7 countries and Europe. I would say to Europeanizing the G7 to find again a common item of the agenda. And this is the time that we can probably talk about the data protection. We know that a lot of legislation has been put in place. I think we will talk about the AI European Act. It is very important. And again, this can be the right context to face common item of the agenda and to make the rest of the world to think about our priorities as well.
Thank you. And now moving on to leadership. You both have led various organizations through crises and significant changes, like at the moment as well. What role do you believe business leadership plays in steering Italian companies towards sustainable growth and innovation? It's a question to both.
Now we are getting into very serious themes. Leadership is the engine of almost anything. And we have to ask ourselves, because you will be the leaders of today and tomorrow, we have to ask ourselves what kind of leaders are needed today. Today is a world, and the future will be a world of uncertainties, of dramatic innovation, of a need for managing change in a continuous way, both at the company levels, at the society level. Leadership will have further responsibilities, not just to make profits in their companies and respect laws, but to add those sustainability objectives we discussed before. So we have to ask ourselves, what kind of leaders do companies and society needs? In my opinion, and we forget the obvious things, competence, dedication, integrity, that is a given. Let's see which are the main characteristics of the leaders that are needed today. First of all, we need people that are capable to manage complexity. So they have an holistic view, are sort of orchestra directors, people that know the different components of companies, the different components of societies, and can keep them together. You don't need to be the best piano player to be an orchestra director, but you have to know how a piano can contribute, or a violin, or a trumpet. So, first of all, holistic view. Second, we probably need people capable to take others together. So they have to be not people that look at the game from outside, but they are in the field, are the coach, directly there, fully responsible, fully with their hands and the credibility to manage other people. Second, we need people that love change, love diversity, accept the risk of mistakes, put together things that are different, but as I said before, for the orchestra, can accept diversity and some sort of disorder but love creativity and accept the risk of trying new things. You will see, you will have to work, if you are lucky enough, you will have bosses that will accept your ideas, but many others will say, no, we have always done in this way, why do you bother me with these ideas? And you will have to be bosses capable to say the opposite. Why not? Let's try. Let's experiment this idea. That's another important point. Third, and almost last, you will have to manage other people through change. And change, believe me, is not only a rational thing. Will not be enough to convince people that it's rational, it's right, it's profitable, it's more efficient, because very often change as a number of other components creates anxiety, creates fear. You have to understand what is the obstacle, psychological obstacles often for your colleagues or for your employees to accept a change and manage these expectations and this fear. When you introduce a change or you restructure a company, I've gone through it several times, you have to be post-italiane, ma intesa stessa, Olivetti, you have to be wise enough to balance the benefits and the cost of change throughout the organization. If only the managers get the benefits and the employees or the workers get the cuts, very unlikely they will participate positively to the change. But managing change, that will be your main task in the future, will need the capability to design a future that is worth the effort, because changing is difficult. You have to convince people that it's worth engaging and committing to a change, and the main way to convince them is that there is a target to reach together that will make life better for all of you. Sometimes this target is far away, so you have to divide the final target in some smaller targets in order to prove to everybody that every month, every semester, every year, you make a step in that direction that makes the final target achievable. So managing change needs a lot of communication, needs a lot of empathy, needs a lot of determination. But believe me, whatever you will do, no matter which job you will have, first as a colleague, and after a certain period as a chief, as a person in charge, as a leader, you will have to manage change. And managing change needs a very last thing that is very important, that is courage. Because you will find yourself many times in situations where you will have to decide without having all the elements to make a rational decision. And people will turn towards you, and you will have to take a decision. You will not be able to move this responsibility to others. And the courage to decide is often what makes a good leader different from a bad leader. Courage is sometimes needed to face the reaction against change, because sometimes you are doing something right, you are introducing a smart change, but the enemies of change, those who do not want to change because they have an interest in the non-change, are often strong, sometimes violent, and the leader is requested to have the courage to face these reactions. So these are some of the main features, in my opinion, of the good leadership in a period like this one. You might ask, but are you born leader or can you become a leader? The answer is certainly the second, provided you are ready to learn from others, you're ready to change, you're ready to accept the risk of failure. But for sure, leaders are not born leaders, become leaders through training, through commitment, through effort. And we badly need, in any area of society and business, leaders with the kind of characteristics I tried to design in the last few words.
Thank you. What a question, how to be a leader. I have to say that I have an unusual background that is a row of failures. So I don't know if I'm the right person, but I used to work as a lawyer for 10 years, also here in London at Clifford Chance. And at the end, I get bored of proofreading. And therefore, I wanted to be on the part of the client. So I decided to switch to a bank, an investment bank, Lehman Brothers. Probably you don't even know Lehman Brothers. And the bank failed, went to bankrupt. So
Not because of her.
I stayed actually at the bank before and after the bankruptcy, but of course it's not. I don't think it's a good example of leadership. But anyhow, I was brave enough, as Corrado was mentioning, to stay there in difficult moment, to go through all the complexity and contributing to unlock the complexity. There were all the obstacles of the bankruptcy, liaising with different bankruptcy throughout different countries, which, and also very sad, also human situations, such as all of the cuts of my colleagues that have been terminated. I mean, I've been lost the job. So after this, I decided to set up my own company on non-performing loan management. Very small one, and my shareholders decided to sell the company. So again, not real a leadership example probably, but I have to say that being an entrepreneur so far has been part of my career that I like the most.
She has been courted by a number of people. I mean, everybody wanted to have her with them, myself too.
But anyway, at the end of the day, I'm here, the CEO of Sole 24 Ore since 2022, and you guys don't read the newspaper anymore. So again, another failure, probably, because I know that you guys are not reading the newspaper, don't worry. So of course, now the challenge is to find new ways to transfer the excellent content that the group produce, and they are really excellent, to other media, because of course there's the audio video factory that is around the corner. There are still the possibility to make a difference, especially during the artificial intelligence era, because here you are able and you're used to have your information for free and just going with the click on your computer. But the idea that gives me the hope to make a difference this time as well is to make you understand the difference between having the information and having the reliable information after it's been checked, has been verified by many experts, and the reliable information, I think, that nowadays makes the difference. You don't want to see the Pope with the jacket. You don't want to see a picture, an image that has been made up by an artificial intelligence. So we want to rely on what has been produced by the intuition of a human person, maybe supported by the artificial intelligence. Why not? As has been supported by internet or by many other instruments, probably in a more elaborated way and very quickly way, but still mastered by human and not the human mastered by the artificial intelligence. So I think it's a great challenge. And I embrace entirely what has been said by Corrado in terms of the ingredients to be a leader. Definitely the ability to change, to be ready when a big change is coming, with vision to anticipate what can happen, Vision, second element, and passion, because this, if we don't like what we do, we cannot do it at the best. So I think passion is the third element that cannot be missed.
Thank you for both your insights.
Add one thing.
Yes.
Because there is only one thing I don't agree with, Mirja. You are not excused if you don't read newspapers. No, but I'm not joking. I
Thank
mean,
you. It's
please.
marketing.
No. More than that. Not only because newspapers are one of the absolute conditions of democracy, but that's another story. Just for you, for your preparation, for your training, for your understanding of the world, please choose at least 2 or 3 newspapers and every day look through them. Don't just rely on your capability to select information. Use some very good newspaper, and there are a number of them. One is here, but you know, in this city, I mean, take Financial Times, but don't rely on your capability to select information. You need someone that surprises you, because you know something about something, but you do not know anything about most other things. And you have to have at least an idea of what happens in other countries, in other subjects, in other areas of the human know-how. And every single day, especially if you're smart enough to use newspapers that are not perfectly aligned, so you have the different views on the main topics, devote some time, maybe an hour. I know that it might sound strange to you, but I force myself every single day, in the morning, and if I don't find the time in the morning, at night, but I don't switch off the light until I've gone through a number of international newspapers. You will see the difference.
On this note, I would like to add another characteristics that if I may give you a tip, which is continuous learning. Because when we were young, we used to got our degree, most of us, the luckier one had a master, and then we stopped studying and we just switched to the business, to work, to whatever is going to be. Nowadays, with these quick transitions, with these changes that are so important, as we mentioned a few times, the list that we all know, the pandemic, the wars, still, unfortunately, the list is long. It's not enough. We cannot stop studying. There's a continuous learning. And this has been something I really wanted to make clear at the office, which is a right and a duty, an obligation to be always reskilled, upskilled. Therefore, that's why at Sole 24 Ore we have a strong program of internal education, but also we re-enter this business because it's important for professional managers, public administration, and any kind of corporate to, from time to time, to be sure that our competences are not out of date.
Thank you both so much for all these insights. And it's not every day that we can get insights from CEOs. So as a very final question, because I'm very wary of your time, and Mr. Passera has a flight to catch, what keeps you both...
Let's keep some time for them too, for the questions. In any case, please go ahead.
What keeps you both up at night as CEOs?
You want to start?
For me, I don't sleep at night when I think that I have speaking public in front of you with Mr. Passera. So it's easy. My answer is very easy. No, but we already, I think, talked about a lot of challenges that we are going through. So, please.
I generally sleep at night. So, but if I have to invent a good reason for not sleeping at night, and it happens, believe me. It has to do with, I mean, that's really very personal, but I keep asking myself if I'm doing enough, if I'm listening enough, if I am up to the expectations of the people that work with me. So, but this is very personal, so this is nothing I can pass to you, but when you are at the top of an organization and you feel the responsibility for many people, or very many, you really have to feel the responsibility about you're doing enough for them, because when you're at the top, you are serving them. It's not that they serve you. I mean, you're there because that position is really a position of service. And this is not rhetoric, because we don't know each other yet, but those who know me and those who have worked with me know that it is something I strongly believe. And at the end, there is another thing. A leader has a very specific responsibility, that is to create other leaders. You are becoming leaders, but keep in mind that at the end, you will be evaluated in your life also on the basis of your capability to create other leaders, to create a spread around leadership. The real leader is someone that creates other leaders.
Thank you so much. Do we have time for a couple questions?
One
If-
question maybe.
Yeah. If so, please raise your
We
hand.
can group two and then just have
Yeah.
an answer, and then we'll have to say goodbye. I'm sorry.
There's one. One is there and one is there.
Throw the microphone.
Yeah.
Hi. So first of all, thank you a lot for the insightful discussion. Second of all, you mentioned the importance of Eurobonds, how they've been really helpful in facing the COVID situation. Obviously, they may also be a really helpful tool in facing problems with risk sharing. In the bonds market, usually Italy doesn't have the favorable borrowing conditions that many other European countries have. So they may constitute also an important tool when it comes to financing all the structural reforms we've been discussing, right? However, sometimes what happens in the capital market is quite different from what affects national politics, and borrowing conditions in Italy, unfavorable borrowing conditions in Italy may not be perceived as a common goal to face by, for example, other countries like Germany, which may not be as prone to Eurobonds as Italy may be. How do you think we could achieve cooperations, maybe useful cooperation to spur financing through Eurobonds, for example, or even coordination through common fiscal policy in Europe? What do you think is a good strategy we could pursue in the future?
Many different questions in just one question, but what I tried to say before has to do with the need for a number of investments that are common to all countries. We have a number of infrastructures. We need an amount of effort in research. We have to create common continental European leaders, and the money available at the country levels for sure will not be enough for them. So the need is there. What I said, in order to realize these kind of things, to create what is needed, we have to find money that the market, in my opinion, will provide to us if it is done on a solidaristic way at the European Eurobonds. I mean, you're rightly saying that some countries are against this layer of indebtedness, but if we look at what the other global powers are doing, they are doing exactly that. And without that layer of indebtedness, we cannot, at the end, we will not be able to compete on the same balance with our main competitors. So we have to find a way, we have to overcome the resistance. And I'm not saying that we have to put our country debt in common with others. I'm talking about new investments, common needs, financed together and managed at the European level, not redistribution, because even the new next generation Europe money is money that has been given to the countries. I'm talking about federal investment identified, managed, and financed at the European level.
Which is very close to consolidated debt.
Not consolidation of the country debt,
new
debt,
initiatives.
just at that level for common initiatives.
Hi, my question is a bit of a historic one maybe, but I wanted to ask when it comes to the role of innovation and the role of startups in innovation, is there any merit in exploring sort of the research centers similar to the ones that were existing in the US around the 70s and 80s, such as Bell Labs or the Xerox Park, or even, for example, the research center of Olivetti, so large companies that have research centers that can sort of explore ideas without any short-term sort of profitability. Is there a space to have a European level research center to foster this kind of innovation?
I'm sure that Europe does not lack laboratories or research centers that are second to US ones. What we have to be able to do is to find funds for long-term projects that today are not available. So we don't have to copy research centers of other countries because actually we have them. We must find money for long-term projects that allows Europe as a whole to be in the ranking of the main companies in the crucial industries. Europe used to be at the top in technology, in banking, at a certain point in defense. Today, we are out of all those rankings, and without a lot of effort for the long term, because the point here is long term versus short term. Short-termism is weakening companies, countries, and Europe as a whole. And you cannot ask the single countries to find money for the long term, given the pressure we have on indebtedness and on accounts. We have to be courageous enough to put solidaristic money, Eurobonds, on long-term research projects. And the research centers to spend that money is already there, in my opinion.
If I may, just to give a note of comment on what has been said in this respect, I think we have also, it's okay having a legal framework, the regulatory framework, but I think it's the right time maybe to copy, why not? But anyway, to switch the focus from risk to investment, from bureaucracy to entrepreneurship, to be more not only on top of the rules, which is important. We have done, I was mentioning before, the AI EU Act, such as also the Digital Service Act, the Digital Market Act. So Europe has done a lot of rules. Now I think we really need to do, otherwise we will stay as a referee and the players are China, USA, and we just look at them. So a little bit of more courage in this, I think it would help.
I will leave you to Mirja now because I have to go to the airport.
Exactly. I'm so sorry. Big round of applause for our guests. Thank you all for coming. We now have an event in the Italian Embassy, and tomorrow we'll be in Oxford. Thanks to everyone who's come and everyone who works in United Italian Societies. Thank you. È stata colpa nostra, ringraziamo davvero tanto. No, grazie. E poi ci vediamo in ambasciata.
Ciao.
Linda, anche il caricatore.